All right. Hey, everybody. This is Michael Goldberg, and I hope you are having a great morning, a good start to your week, and trying to. My new mantra is be the light into the darkness, which means I'm out here bringing special guests like the one I have today, Michael Smith, on to help others, who wants to help others. But be that light into, because people are going through tough times, and Michael, welcome to the show. How are you?
Yeah, thanks very much, Mike. I'm really glad to be here and doing well despite these really interesting different times.
Isn't it interesting though? I mean, how much more interesting could it get?
Well, I think when we last spoke, it was a different world. It was before, way before. It was way before March 7th, and
Yep.
It was a different world.
Absolutely. So, Trevor Houston, I don't know if you know Trevor in Dallas. He does a lot for job seekers here in the DFW area. He's got that Who You Know job networking show.
Okay. Yes, I know of it. Yep.
You should, if he does it remote, which I think he does, you should be on his broadcast. He does.
Yeah, no, I'd love to do that. Yeah, I know of it. I don't think I've actually spoken with him, but I do know of it.
He's a good guy. He's a good guy. Yeah. So I am just texting him back hello, and so feel free to, Trevor, if you're on, and the other folks that are on, feel free to share by clicking that arrow to the right, letting people know that you're listening to Mike and I. And Trevor goes, "What's up?" Well, a lot is up, Trevor, and we'll be talking about that. We're going to help the job seeker today, aren't we, Mike?
Absolutely. That's our focus.
That is our focus. And Trevor says he'd love to have you on as a guest.
Fantastic.
So okay, I'll connect you two via LinkedIn.
That'll be fantastic.
There you go. Yes. Hello, Adarsh. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever everybody's dialing in from. We always get a good mix here from around the world, actually. I get people from Saudi Arabia, India, Europe. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool now.
You go far.
I try to go far. But enough about this. We want to know about you. Before we kind of dive into our conversation, you have a very common name, Michael.
Yes.
Do you go by Mike or Michael? Do you prefer
Either. I've got Mike at the moment. That works for me.
All right. Well, yes. So
that's how we can tell each other apart. You see, otherwise it'd be hard.
Well, it could be Michael G and Michael P.
There you go. Could be that
right?
as well. It could be that
well, there you go. Well, so you are the CEO of Hiring Stage.
Yes.
Right? So let's give everybody an introduction into what it is that you do in your superpowers.
Okay, that's a great question, great segue into that. So there's really three things I do. I do maybe three, maybe more. I have a consulting business I do, Pathwise Consulting, and on that one I help more medium and larger size organizations with large programs of change that aren't doing well, help them get back on track. So it's really change management, program management, particularly for failing projects. Mm-hmm. My passion at the moment is really to build out this new thing, Hiring Stage. And what Hiring Stage is all about is connecting people with deep experience. So people with sort of like 15, 20, 25 years business experience, and connecting them with growth stage companies who, if they place them in the right places, could really change their chances of success by adding deep experience in the right places. So that's that. I also do a couple other things on the side, like you do, Michael. So I run a pitch competition in New York, so that's for startups, and it's monthly. It's called Founders Live. It's part of a network of pitch competitions around the world. So I'm the New York City leader for that. And I just took that virtual, like so many of us are doing, right, Michael? I just took that online last Thursday. So really getting the experience of trying to run an online event. But Hiring Stage is the thing that takes up most of my time, and the passion really there is there, and sort of the value prop on either side is, unfortunately, people with deep experience, particularly that come out of corporate, sometimes find it hard to reconnect, particularly with Fortune 500 companies. And one of the issues they're dealing with is ageism. It's a real issue in our community. And I think in this pause we're going through now, I'm suspecting that people who suffer from ageism in employment are suffering that even more in this time. And on the value prop side for companies is, there's been studies done that looked at if you add age and experience, diversity to your team, it actually has the single largest impact of any diversity attribute to the success of a company. And also from a startup's perspective, it's also been seen that startups that bring deep experience in the right places double or triple their chances of success just by doing that. So sort of bringing all those things together. And at the same time, coming up with defining a new way of hiring, really how to connect experience or candidates to companies. So we're also doing that as well. That's a number of aspects we're dealing with in the hiring stage.
So, and that sounds amazing. And I think that, so it's really about candidate attraction, engagement, a lot of the similar things that I do when I go into companies is really kind of help them figure out, who do you want to be as a company? What's your brand attraction? Why do you want to be a part of this? Why should I want to be a part of your company? Those kind of things. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah. In fact, there's two key things that I extract. There's a number of data points I extract when I'm matching a company to a professional. But on the company side, I'm interested to know what the job description is, because it's sort of the traditional way of starting. I say, okay, I need a Michael Goldberg. Okay, so I'll create a role description, right? I think role descriptions are problematic because they often don't really communicate well the underlying problem the business is trying to solve or the opportunity they're trying to take advantage of by the hire. So I instead capture, tell me what the problem is that you're trying to solve or the opportunity you're trying to reach by this hire, which is different from a job description. And I use that, I extract that into a few different fields. And on the candidate side, to match to that, I know we all have to have resumes, and we need to have that. It's like your calling card, right? But I don't think it's a very good way to match you to companies. So what I do is instead I've created a profile, have a number of data points in it, but two key data points, which is raised to two key questions I ask professionals is, tell me what problems you're really, really good at solving in organizations, first problem, or first thing. And secondly, what is this thing that you do in an organization setting that really drives your passion, floats your boat, that you would almost do for free? So I captured those two things. So instead of matching, company, I think I need a chief marketing officer, to I think I am a chief marketing officer, or I'm claiming I am. Instead, I match, tell me, company, what problem you're trying to solve, or what opportunity you're trying to reach, and I match you to people who solve those problems or have demonstrated they can help you with that opportunity. Now, I'm actually doing that manually at the moment, and I'm actually finding that the companies are saying, wow, this is actually a better way to match. So it's actually quite simple, but it's fundamentally transitional as well. It's revolutionary in a way, because this form of matching is really not done. So that's what I'm doing with Hiring Stage.
I love it. So, when you're sitting here and you're, let's go back to your pitch event.
Right.
The face-to-face versus doing it virtually. And I know and I have an idea for you to do it, to do the pitch events, how to manage it better without less stress here, which in a minute I'll give you.
Okay, great. I'm all ears for that.
Right. Yeah, and everybody feel free to chime in as well. But what did you, besides being online, were people just as excited to do their pitches on Zoom than they would be face-to-face?
You know what? They were, and we actually used another product called StreamYard to do it. We didn't use Zoom. I started off thinking about using Zoom, and I saw another Founders Live City Boston used StreamYard, and I really liked it in the end. But you hit on a really good point there, Michael, about the question. So what I was concerned about is the audience is not there like it is in a Zoom. In a Zoom, like everyone's theoretically got a camera, right? But the question is, we wanted to get 100, 200 people. In the end, I think we're up around 200 views of it we had. That's a bit hard to manage in a Zoom. And so what we did is we used a couple of different tools. We used a tool that enables you to capture input from your audience. It's often used for Q&A. It's a tool called Slido, which we use, which is quite amazing. It does things like word clouds and stuff. It's really great. I really recommend that for an online meeting. And also, we also had the chat, right? Like we have here now, right? It's like your audience can chat. I think they can chat via, LinkedIn, via Facebook. They can add a comment. Right. We can see them. And then that particular tool, you can highlight those comments on the screen and sort of give this feeling. You can start to react to that, a bit like you're doing now, right? You're reacting to people to show there's an audience. And so in that, the pictures really got into it. And we had a comedian, and also we did this cool thing where we put a bit of pressure on the founder who won. We asked them to show us a bit of their move, their dance move. We played a bit of music and do a dance move. So it was like different. And we had 5 pitches, and they really got into it, and it seemed to go really, really well. And so we're excited. We will do it again. We'll absolutely do it.
Absolutely. So let's talk about. Well, here's my idea for you. You could do pre-recorded pitches, and then have the guests on live to do the Q&A after you watch the pre-recorded pitches. That way, you're not moving all your. Remember, you were telling me how you almost have to have a board. Doing that on the side. Might be a way to do it. That's the way a lot of the virtual conferences are doing it. They're actually taping.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea. We might try that. Okay.
Yeah, it'd just be a lot easier, right? And then you bring them on live for the questions on StreamYard or even on Zoom, or you could make the, I think this, Zoom. You have to pay extra if you want to do a webinar on Zoom.
I think Zoom should a different platform. I noticed StreamYard is not so good. You can play a video, but you need special equipment so to get the audio.
Yeah, you need equipment to connect the audio correct, and that's where it's. But I can put you in touch with a few people that might be able to help you out. So
that'd be great. Yeah, because I think we need to invest in this. Because I think, what we're seeing here, Michael, is that so many organizations and people and consultants are going online, but I think we're going to see a plethora of it, lots of it. And I think one of the issues we're going to be dealing with is it needs to be done well. It needs to be done well, particularly if you want to charge people for the content, right? I don't know about the idea of just holding up your phone, shooting it and putting it out there and saying people are going to pay for that content. They're probably not. So I think getting a quality, that's not just quality production. Quality content is the main thing, but also a quality production as well. I think it's going to be something that we're going to be challenged with.
So Trevor asked, what's the difference between a meeting and a webinar?
Oh, you mean in Zoom speak?
Well, that's a good question. You can do webinars in Zoom, but you have to pay for it, which I think if you have the business edition, you should have that for free. Of course, when you go to Zoom Help now, you're in queue for literally all day because you're like every time I've tried to go on and do live chat, I'm like in queue 424, 425. I'm like, when's the queue changing?
I think one of the main differences, though, is a regular Zoom call, so that everyone's a peer, right? So like you and I are now, except we could have another 10 people, and we're sort of peers, although there is a host that can have some control. In a webinar, I think it acts more like this platform, where you have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 presenters, and then everyone else is just viewers. I think that's the main difference between a Zoom meeting and a Zoom webinar.
Definitely. And I think a webinar is more, though it's interesting, the definition of a webinar to me is it's generally 1 or 2 people, 3 people talking at a camera, presenting slides.
Right.
And I don't think America or the general public wants to be PowerPointed right now. I think
Right.
they
Yes.
want
No. Absolutely.
faces. So to me, a Zoom meeting could be a webinar, Trevor. So you can pay
Right.
$40 $40 for up to 100 participants on the webinar, but then it jumps. There's nothing in between 1 and 500.
Right.
So you're paying either 40 for 100 participants or 140 a month for I think 500 participants. Which
Wow.
yeah, I mean, you might as well just look at GoToMeetings or WebEx, right? If you want to pay extraordinary, but I mean, there are folks like Google, and if you have the G Suite in Google, or you have Microsoft, the Microsoft Suite, they're all offering unlimited. It's pretty cool. But so one of the things that you had mentioned that I think actually Mr. Houston would definitely perk his ears up to hearing. We were having a little conversation about giving back, and you said you wanted to put on possibly a virtual career fair the way it's never been done before.
Yes. So I'm going to put this on, so it'll be announced shortly. But we're going to do so. This audience is really getting the first heads up of this. Is we're calling it a virtual career fair. And what it'll be is really an online show. It'll run probably from like 10 a.m. Eastern to like 5 p.m. Eastern, but to cover the country. And we'll feature, 10 to 15 companies with multiple roles. And the idea is it's a live show. So think of it like a radio show, or even maybe it could have the feel of like a telethon, where we have engaging content. I'm going to bring on people like yourself. I think I'd love to have you on to talk about the hiring process, tips on how to get your resume, interviewing, have companies come on and talk about the roles they have. And then people can live in real time then apply for that role and get a first screening within 15 minutes. And then interviews may then happen that same day or within 2 days after that. So that's the idea. And it's very much, it's not really a static site. It's very much a live show, and to encourage people to really connect in real time. So that's what we're going to be doing.
I love it. And Trevor said he'd volunteer to help, so I'll definitely connect you to.
Fantastic. Yeah, I've already written with Trevor down because that'd be great. What we're going to do is it's going to like a show, so we're going to have a scheduled content, a bit like you would have perhaps up on stage at an in-person career fair, where Michael will be on at 10:10 to talk about this, and then Trevor will be on and this. We're actually going to have a couple of comedy spots as well for a bit of entertainment.
I can do Jerry Lewis impressions.
Well, I thought we need Jerry. Yeah, we actually need Jerry.
Unless you have some miracle.
I know.
But I can do an impression. I can do.
There you go. Can you? Excellent. Well, then you're definitely. We're going to have you on twice.
Yeah, I can only do the hey lady. That's all I can do. That's all I can do.
That's what I might need.
I can't really talk about it. I can't do Dean Martin, but I can do other impressions too if you need it. Yeah. So let's focus on the job seekers, because now it's just, isn't it gut wrenching?
Yes.
10 million people. I mean, and that doesn't even include people like you and me that while, we're working, but we're not really working. We need to be working.
Not getting paid what I used to get paid. No, that's right. Because the freelancers and hopefully some of the programs that are coming out. I mean, one of the good things is there will be some assistance for freelancers as well in these packages that are coming out, which is really, really good. It's not just W-2 workers. The payroll protection program, I think, is for W-2 workers, but there's some other programs that'll help freelancers, which is really great.
So what would you say is like, to the job seekers out there, whether they're on this or they're going to watch the replay, what would you say to them? What kind of comfort can we, as recruiting or at least HR or whatever you want to call us in the industry, what would you tell the industry to be doing to help job seekers out right now?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. So on the job seeker side, the realities might be that you really need to understand who you're targeting. There are a number of companies that are in a hiring freeze now, but some companies are hiring, particularly those perhaps in healthcare, those who have remote roles from remote. They're more open to that, but it is definitely an uncertain time. I would think about two things. Refocus on what your real, you used, I really like one of the words you used before, Michael, superpower. I call it unique value proposition. It's the same thing, is use this time to really hone in on where your unique value is. And, we talked a bit earlier about these two questions. And so those of you who are job seekers, I'm going to ask you to write down two questions, and I want you to answer them. First question is, what problems do you solve in organizations? Second question is, what have you done in an organizational concept that when you do this thing, this activity, this mini project or whatever, this help you do, it gives you so much reward and so much feedback and drives your passion and floats your boat that you'd almost do it for free. Write the answers to that down. Combine the two answers, and that, I believe, is what we call a unique value proposition. Some people call it superpower. And the reason I ask you to do that is then take your prospecting out, looking for work, take your networking out, focusing on that unique value proposition. Because the temptation is in this environment is to start pitching ourselves as jacks of all trade, because we think that's what we're going to have to do. Right. It's counterintuitive. We need to flip that. We need to be the best. So what we want to be right now is you need to decide you're the best screwdriver or the best hammer in the toolbox. You're not the best toolbox. And it seems counterintuitive, but that's the thing to focus on, and then find organizations that need that particular tool to solve their problems. And don't waste your time prospecting with organizations or companies that really don't need what you have. So it's very much an efficiency point. So there are 2 points. And I guess the third one might be just, use the time. If you've got the time now, use the time to do that online course, gain that skill, learn that tool, do that research on companies. So when we come out of this, and we will come out of this, you'll have a better tool set to go forward. So that's sort of my feelings about that. I don't know what you think about it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I've told a lot of different job seekers, because I volunteer my time to review folks from around the country to review their resumes. And okay. And for anybody listening, if you want send either, Mike, are you willing to do any of that?
Absolutely. I'm happy to do that. Absolutely.
So you can reach him. I'll put it in the comments here toward the end. Mike at hiringstage.com or Michael at hiringtransformed. It's pretty easy.com.
Right.
So, but what, I always ask those questions. What are some things that you can be working on? Like, one of the things I'm learning how to be better than I used to be at is sourcing, learning how to use Slack, because I think Slack is, as much as everybody touts it, it can be a very confusing tool when you're on. It's not as intuitive as you would think it would be to find groups and to be a part of the groups and stuff like that. What are some of the things that you're working on, like in your downtime, that you're trying to sharpen up?
Yeah, one of them was to use tools like this. Is how could I use this time to put some of the content that we have, both content I have personally and also through the company, to take online. So, one of them was the pitch competition that we ran. We took that online. The second one is to do this virtual career fair. I think maybe the first in the country like this. So take that on. And I'm also looking for other opportunities where we can bring our content online, in addition to what we traditionally might think about, like doing a video post on LinkedIn. That's sort of something we've been doing for quite some time, but doing something different, more in lines of a webinar, that type of thing. So I'm learning some of these tools. That's something I'm doing. At the same time, for my company, I'm also just resetting with my team on our strategy, on some of our planning, some of our behind-the-scenes processes that we needed to tidy up, some of the tools we needed. We're also getting those organized as well. So I'm sort of taking some of my own advice I gave before of just using this time to learn something new or to brush up on something or improve some process. So when things come back more to a new normal, and it will be a normal, but it'll be a new normal, that we'll be ready to take advantage of it.
Do you have any idea what that new normal looks like? Because I'd like to know.
Yeah, I was living in Australia actually at a time they had a national strike of all airline pilots. This is something I remember, and what it did is it meant that corporations couldn't fly their executives around the country to different meetings and stuff. And this is a while ago. It was in the 90s, so quite a while ago now. But one of the things it did do is companies were forced to rethink what could be done remotely, like meetings, board meetings, committee meetings, project team meetings, where everyone thought, oh, no, we had to put these teams together, or a lot of people thought that, is they said, no, we could start to use video conferencing and much more usage of conference calling. So that boomed during that time, and that never changed. So there was a new normal that came out of that many more companies used remote tools and went to remote working because they couldn't travel. So I think we're going to see something like that too. I think we're going to see companies really being questioned as to whether a role absolutely has to be on location, or whether we can use more freelancers, we can use more people working remote, and we can work together. Use tools like this. Look at the growth in Zoom. I mean, Zoom has grown like 6,000%, I think, in usage. It's unbelievable. I think you have to say that people who weren't focusing on using tools like that are going to say, "Wow, this is pretty good." So I'm going to continue doing that. So I think that'll be part of the new normal.
I agree, and I think people are going to say, "Oh, wait a minute, this is kind of saving us money."
Yeah,
and airfare and
time.
Do we? So yeah. So I mean, I hope. So I used to work for a big event manager with Freeman, right?
Okay.
They've furloughed 90% of their staff. They were at like 7,000 employees, right? And then eventually they're going to have to have a reduction at some point. I don't know that for a fact, but I mean, just it makes common sense. And but I think events, the way we know events. Do you think that there'll be this mad rush to get everybody back together again, or do you think this is the new way to have events virtually?
No, I think there'll be a progression back to large events, but I feel that it'll take time. It's not going to be a big bang. I think, particularly the larger events, which are in the thousands of people.
Your CES and your South by Southwest. I mean, those are two big Freeman conferences.
Right. Wow. Yeah. I think it's going to take a while before, even if they have them, before people will come back to them in droves. Even though I think we'll all be craving that face-to-face contact, I think there'll still be some reticence early on. So I think those things will come back more slowly, and some of them will move either to be online or partly online, where you can join it both in person, and using technologies like this, you can also have a very good experience virtually as well. I think that's something that's going to come out of this, because these organizations will have invested and understood the knowledge about how to do that. I think that'll continue on and say, wow, I could get 1,000 people at this event, but maybe I'll get another 500 virtually. Right. Slightly different experience. So I think that's going to happen as well on the event front.
So for job seekers, I mean, especially that are kind of, our age, right? We went through, the crash of '87, the recession of '92, 9/11, the Great Recession, and now this. I haven't really studied the trends of impactful, like truly impactful events like this. It's something I'd like to kind of do some research on, and how we come out differently. What are job seekers going to have to do differently, especially because we haven't seen this level of unemployment, whatever that percentage is, since, the Great Depression.
Yeah. I think that it's going to bring to light even more that the real successful approach to job seeking is not sitting at home and applying on job boards, right? It's networking. It's getting out there and making those contacts. I think that process is going to be needed even more. So there's going to be some competition, right, to get back into these roles that open up again. So I think even more, you need to focus on the more successful routes for obtaining that new role. We say that the statistic.
Like, what does that mean?
Well, so it means networking, like really look to say that the most successful way to obtain that next role is through networking and not by applying cold on job boards. That is a fairly low, is at best a 20 to 30% success rate. Just relying on networking alone has more like a 70% success rate. So I think those things are going to become even sharper, that if you don't do that, you'll be more behind the 8 ball with that. So I think really understand, what does networking mean? Networking means a few things. It means being very clear on what your value proposition is. Have your elevator pitch really clear. Have your value proposition really clear. And then progressively through your bio, your cover letters, your resume, have that all stacked up so it all lines up. But target the organizations you want to work with, and then do research, particularly through tools like LinkedIn, to find out how could I find people at that organization who could introduce me to someone so I can talk to someone. And for every contact I make, ask for 2 more contacts and widen my circle of networking. I think that's
old school. That's old school networking. That's the way I used to do it in the 80s.
I think it's still the way to do it. And obviously new things like this sort of medium, maybe invest in I think another thing to really focus on, which I talk to when I give workshops around this, is embark, if you haven't done it yet, use this time to embark on a personal branding journey. Personal branding.
Yeah, and that's what a job search is, isn't it?
It is, but I think sometimes people don't think of doing things like, so one of the reasons why I really encourage people to define what the unique value proposition is, it's not only to focus your outreach to companies you might want to work with or organizations you might want to work with, it's also to focus on, now it's the time to create that content about which you're a subject matter expert. Start publishing it on LinkedIn, write an article about it on Medium. Find events like this where you can become a guest host and talk, or a guest, or even host your own show about this.
Anybody can do that.
Yeah, you can do these tools. You can do that, and you can start to get yourself above the fray. Some people use this time to write that book they've been thinking about for ages. Start pitching organizations to become a workshop leader, a presenter, a group leader, a panel member. Do all that to sort of get this message out there that you really know this subject matter. So I think that's what I call personal branding, is think of yourself like a product and a brand, just like you would a product or a service. And I think using a sales approach to finding your next job rather than the traditional hiring approach, which I think is broken. I think the hiring system is broken. Using a sales approach. What does that mean? Think about the problem that companies have that you can solve, rather than thinking of just immediately selling you. Finding out what the companies are that you really want to work with and that have problems that you solve and roles that you can really work for, and only focus on them. And then when you make the contact, focus there on what they want first before selling yourself into that role. It's a sales approach. And the sales approach means create a brand for yourself. So people say, Michael Goldberg, I know him. Well, isn't he the guy that does that show? Oh, okay, yeah, I know him. Yeah, okay, like he's a guy I got to speak to. Well, he's looking for a role. I want to speak to him. So I think this is this idea of personal branding. People doing videos on LinkedIn is a classic example of that.
Yeah, many people are shy,
Sure.
I need to get Fanny Dunnigan to book some time and get her on here, because
yes, you need to get Fanny. Yes, she's great.
She helped me. She helped me. And I think, is she the one that connected you and me?
Yes. Fanny introduced.
Or was it Judy Fox?
No, it was actually Fanny, I think. Although we know Judy as well.
We run in the same circle. Yeah, we run in the same circles. I think you're spot on, Trevor. Trevor Houston says, love this guy, all valid.
Okay.
He is all valid. Well, that's good to know. And you know, I think it is about who you know and who you're connected with. But I think one of the things that I advise job seekers on, I put together this spreadsheet. It's nothing fancy, but literally, and if you're interested in receiving it, people watching or listening live or on the replay, just DM me and I'll send it to you. But it helps them figure out what type of employer do they want to work on? What's that culture fit look like for you? What are your values? What are your strengths? So this will help pull out those superpowers because a lot of people right now are sticking their heads in the sand and thinking, well, I'll just wait this out. And that's just the wrong approach. Don't you agree?
No, it's the wrong approach. And I think it is the wrong approach. Use this time to, develop that skill, develop that extra superpower, define what it is for yourself. And I just want to make a comment on what you said before about people, for example, video. I'm not saying everyone should do video, but there is a test about this time that unless what you're doing feels a bit uncomfortable, then it's probably not worth your time. Get uncomfortable. So, not everyone would do this, but I've used the example of posting a video on LinkedIn. If that feels really uncomfortable, maybe that's an indication that's what you should be doing. And try that. If it feels uncomfortable to reach out to these people that you've seen, they wouldn't want to talk to me. Okay, feel uncomfortable? Probably a pretty good indication that's what you should be doing. So I'm going to just give that other piece of advice as well.
Well, it's interesting. I'm sure that people that are working are getting inundated. So, whether you're in healthcare, you're working in the supply chain and delivery, like an Amazon or Walmart, or if you're in so it was a healthcare and technology,
right?
The chances of you trying to land a job right now with any one of those companies are certainly there. I know that there's this one link, and I'll find it and I'll put it out there and share it with everyone. But it's you've probably seen this, Mike. It's the active, the positions, kind of the live. Are they in a hiring freeze, or are they laying off? Or are they or are they hiring? Right. So there's a link that has it. It's put out by this group called, there's a bunch of them, but this one is David Chouinard, if I'm mispronouncing his name. Have you seen this?
No, I don't. No. So
if you've been laid off, add your resume to the layoff hiring list. So here I'll type the link.
Yeah, it'd be great. Yeah, let's share that.
So it's www.candor. Candor.co, pardon the delay, guys. Candor.co / I can go to into a screen share, but I'm worried that if I do, it'll jack with the with the live, so I'm not going to do it. But I am going to. So I just put this. Candor.co / hiring - freezes. And I mean, they have a place where you can upload your resume. But if you look at this, it shows you who you can even sort it by who's hiring. And I would say for talent acquisition professionals that are still working, I would certainly use this list and go off of the hiring freeze or who's been furloughed and say, hey, look, we're hiring. I know your people want to get back to work, but I know you want to retain them. Would you mind sharing some of your technical, some of your engineers, or share some of your, supply chain folks or operational people for the next 4 months? And then when you're ready to get them off furlough, they can go back to you, but they'll have worked for us.
Yep.
So absolutely. So I would say, it's about helping one another with lists like these. That is great. But they even have this thing called the layoff hiring list, and you can add your resume to that. So I mean, there's so many people that are wanting to help. I mean,
there's another one. I think there's another link. There's a site called Who's Hiring. I think it's what it's called. Have you come across that one? If not, I'll post that as well.
Go ahead and share that in the comments.
I will do. I'll put it in the comments. I'll have to dig it out.
Conversation.
I will do. Let me make there's and it talks about.
It's called who is it?
Who's hiring?
WHO?
Yeah, something like that. I'll get the link out. I should have had it to hand, but I'll get it out and I'll put it in the comments to the live stream at least afterwards if you can't find it there now. And
there's a who's hiring hashtag like on Twitter.
I'll get the right link. And it just says my company. It just says are there layoffs? Are they hiring freeze? Are they hiring? Are they what are they doing with contractors? That sort of stuff.
Got it. Yeah. So hello to Lara Ascona. She said Fanny Dunnigan and Trevor Houston both encouraged me to post my first video. And she actually did. I think it was yesterday or maybe it was late last week, but she did a fantastic job. I'm so glad they pushed me to do it, even when it was outside of my comfort zone. And that's the thing. If you're comfortable, that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Don't be comfortable.
No.
You should
time to get uncomfortable.
Time to get uncomfortable. Have butterflies in your stomach. Yep. When you're awake, your stomach should be churning, and you should be, what can I do different? And I think the key when you're posting your video, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be anything earth-shattering and revealing. It's just putting yourself out there, saying you're there for them, you're there to help, or be genuine. Here's what I'm going through in my day. Yesterday, of all things, or Sunday, I was like, God, I'm really up and down. This is me personally. I'm really up and down. I don't know how I'm feeling. I get this text from my friend Mike Batman Cohen, who is this sourcing amazing guy who goes out and can find anybody you need him to go find. And he just sent me a text, and I put it on a post yesterday, and it said, he said, hey, just thinking about you. Hope you're doing okay. Just want to let you know I'm here for you. And that was nice. And then today, someone sent me a private message to say, hey, I saw your post on LinkedIn. Know you've been having a rough time. I'm looking to see who I know at the companies that are hiring for you. So if it doesn't come to you getting a full-time job, I'm gonna try to make introductions for you. That's the kind of stuff that everyone who's connected, everyone just offer yourself up, right? Put yourself out there. If that's getting out of your comfort zone, hey, that's a good way to get out of that comfort zone. Like, let me see you I knew at XYZ company, right?
Absolutely. So do that. And don't be afraid to do that outreach as well. Particularly to somebody you think, oh, that person might not speak to me. Just have you tried?
I can tell you right now, everybody's talking to everybody because everybody, it was interesting. 4 weeks ago, I am sure that candidates will tell you they had a hell of a time trying to get people to speak to
right.
Who were working. But now that we're 10 million unemployed here in the country, if that's the number, if people aren't willing to talk to you, then they're not worth even pressing on.
Absolutely.
But there are ways to do it. There are ways to volunteer your time. I know that those what is it, the unemployment center are setting up call centers to handle the influx. I know they're only paying $15 to $17 an hour.
Right.
But you know what? For the interim, that's what you got to do to make ends meet and to keep the lights on and pay the groceries.
Right. Absolutely.
To feed your family. Don't be ashamed.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, I think that's absolutely right. So I'm very excited for the things that you're doing, Michael, particularly in helping the job seeker, and love to also. collaborate on some of this stuff that you've got going. So
absolutely. So just a couple of things here as we wrap up. So everybody be on the lookout from, and I want you to connect and follow Michael Smith of Hiring Stage. You can definitely find him out there on LinkedIn. Feel free to connect with me at Michael Goldberg. It's the Dallas Michael Goldberg. It's Hiring Transformed. Tomorrow we're going to be doing our virtual happy hour, which I've invited Mike to.
Yeah, I'm going to be there. Thank you.
You bet. It starts at 5:30 p.m. Central Time, so 6:30 on the East Coast, 3:30 on the West Coast, and of course the Mountain is I think at 4:30. So, but you can bring your cocktail. We're going to have Jim Durbin, who's a very good friend of mine. We're going to be talking about some different things about what job seekers are going through, how to be more present online, things of that nature. So I'm really excited to have him on, and you know, Mike, I think you'd be a great speaker on that happy hour one night. So I definitely want to have you on that.
Sure.
If you're interested in doing that, just go to the Eventbrite and type in TA and HR, or just type in Michael Goldberg and see if you can find me there. And I'll put the link. I'll put the link in the comments after we close the show here. Sure.
Right. I'll put that in.
Yeah. So. But Michael, it's been 45 minutes goes by real quickly. I could probably talk to you.
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you.
It has been great. And any words of hope, wisdom, and encouragement that you can offer the audience, especially during the troubling times right now?
Focus less on the noise. So when you're looking at social media, focus less on all the stories that people are posting about the horrors of what's going on here. Stick to the facts. So look at the official sites for COVID information, like the CDC and those things. Pretty much ignore advice from everybody else, and just limit that. Just look at it 10 minutes a day, and the rest of the time focus on stuff that feeds your soul and is positive, and also feeds your next step, and focus on that. Use this time to develop that new skill, that course, that focus on networking and finding the next opportunity. Focus on that. That's my
I agree. Yeah, you can focus on Fauci too. He's a good guy.
Yeah, that's right.
Dr. Fauci is wonderful. It'd be great to get him on the show, right?
Yeah.
Get him on your show, right? That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Get him on a happy hour. But
Okay.
be interesting.
Anybody know him? Yeah, please do. Yeah,
yes, if anybody knows Dr. Fauci, please contact Michael or myself, because I'm planning a big fundraising event too, but we'll save that for another time. We're going to focus on getting people back to work. We're going to focus on helping you find your next job. That's why we're here. Again, feel free to DM us on LinkedIn if you need help looking at your resumes, and also anytime you have questions for us, feel free to reach out. That's why we're here. And, I'm glad that everybody's doing well in Westchester, Mike, and that you have your family there. I've got my family with me, and who knew it was going to be just like high school when all the kids were at home. And but you got grandkids, you got it all going on, so it's all good.
Yeah, absolutely.
But thank you so much. I hope you stay healthy and safe, and all our viewers out there, I hope you're healthy and safe. And we'll see you next Tuesday. And Mike, just hang on for a minute after I close the broadcast.
All right. Thank you very much, Michael.
Be safe and be healthy. No, thank you. So we're going to go to trying to find it.